Hello there, and welcome to a Final Fantasy VI Rules Collide Airship tutorial, hosted by me, Seto Kaiba. So what is this about? Well, it turns out flying the airship is not as straightforward as it seems, and there's a lot of smaller optimizations you can do that will kind of result in some significant time save over the course of a run. And I've noticed with the Moves for Short tournament going on, some not best habits involving the airship. So I figured I would just do a whole encompassing video on what the airship is, how it works, and where some of those time saves, where you can save some time here. So let's just jump right into it. The first thing to kind of go over is let's talk about the controls for a second. So we get in the airship with A, and A of course moves the airship around as you expect. B is a dismount. Of course, most people know most of these controls, but B is a dismount. X brings you into the airship itself. Y is strafe. This one's important because, well, there's important for two reasons. One of which we'll go over a little bit later, but the second is, in World of Ruin, when flying, you can run into a boss fight that would be in the Doomgaze boss fight slot in vanilla Final Fantasy VI. If you strafe, you cannot run into Doomgaze, so it can be useful for quicker or shorter distances when you don't want to encounter Doomgaze, such as going from college into Ebbets Rock, or college into Daryl's Tomb, or from Mass to Ebbets Rock. You know, you can just move like that. And then the last thing is L and R, which on their own don't do anything, but increase your turning radius. So if I'm going to do a full churn without L and R, I'm holding, A and left. It takes me a little bit to do a full circle. Whereas if I hold L, suddenly I'm turning a lot tighter. And so turning around becomes a lot easier if you're holding the direction button combined with the shoulder button. You can kind of see it here, right? That's holding R, not holding R. Holding left but not L, then holding L. So you can churn a lot quicker if you combine your left and rights with your L's and R's. So that's just a quick overview on how controls work. So let's start talking about time saves. So the very first thing to bring up, and I'm going to be kind of blunt about it because it's a bad habit I've seen a lot of players get into, is I see a lot of players get in the airship and then they do this. They raise themselves up in the air and then they look around. Be blunt, don't do this. This is a complete waste of time, and it adds nothing of... It doesn't give you an advantage at all. It is solely a time decrease. So why is it a time decrease? Because if I raise myself up in the air, and then I fly wherever, who cares where, and then I hit B, you have the animation time of going up when you first raise, and you have the animation time going down of you descending. That is animation time that you're forced to use, that you'll sit through each and every time. And it doesn't seem like much. It's only about 2 seconds or so, but it actually does add up. It can be very significant. I look back at my last Ultras run, and I did 22 total airship trips. So if it adds 2 seconds to raise up and come back down on each airship ride, and you do 22 trips, that's 44 seconds of extra time you spent not gaining anything, right? Now, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, I use it in order to kind of see ahead of me, right? You can get a better look of where things are. And that is true. But this comes to point number 2, or tip number 2, is when I'm flying, I don't look at the screen. I am looking solely at that mini-map there. That's the only thing I care about. It can be a little hard to see, granted. It wasn't really meant for fine detail, but you can see all the different towns on the mini-map of where you want to go. And so when I'm flying and I get in the airship and everything, I am immediately just looking at the mini-map, and I'm just aligning my airship to where I want to go. And right when you saw my airship stop, that's the first time I stop looking at the minimap and start looking at the actual screen itself. There's no reason to really look at your airship while you're flying. There's no enemies to avoid. This isn't Mario Kart or F-Zero. There's nothing to avoid. You're always going to the same static place each time. So for me, like if I'm going to go to Thamasa here, I'm just looking at the mini-map now, and I'm just aligning myself to get a straight line with the airship. And, you know, around the time that you saw me stop the airship is when I'm looking up from the mini-map. And I was pretty much there. You know, same if I'm going to go to South Figaro from here, right? I'm looking at the mini-map, I'm just making adjustments as I'm flying to make sure I'm lined up to where the town is. So if you're looking solely at the minimap and using that to kind of figure out where you want to go, and, you know, like if I'm trying to go to Albrook here, I'm going to, you know, use the minimap to kind of align myself. Wish I had like a John Madden like thing where I can draw a marker here, but, you know, right now I'm pointing right at Albrook, and I'm using the minimap to orientate myself with that. So then when I fly forward, I don't really have to look at the screen. I know I'm going roughly to where I need to go, and then I have to make minor adjustments at the end. So if you do that, if you're only looking at the mini-map to come up with your trajectory, your orientation, your flight plan, I guess. If you use the mini-map to come up with that, then you don't need to do this. There's no reason to, because you don't need to actually look on the screen to where you're going. You look at the mini-map to where you're going. So that saves a significant amount of time involving going up and going down on each airship trip. If you can cut that out by using the mini-map to direct yourself where you're going, you'll save a significant amount of time. And I'll kind of walk through an example of that at the end. Tip number 2 is landing. So this has been mentioned a few times in the Discord about landing's not an exact science. If I'm going someplace, if I'm trying to go South Figaro here, right, and I'm flying, oh, I'm off, you know, let me go around, let me get close, no, wait, you know, you're wasting time, right, you're wasting time trying to land. In the end, the best thing to do is just land as soon as possible. If you're a few tiles away, it's fine, you know, it's perfectly fine, you know, get close, and then land where you want to land. You don't need to get to the exact square you want to go, because looping back to try to get the perfect landing is going to waste more time than it's going to save. However, there is a trick that I utilize to get some pretty precise landing. So going back to South Figaro here, if I'm flying, you know, I'm looking at the mini map, and now right when I stop, I'm now not looking at the mini map. I'm looking at, you know, at the airship, and I can't land here, but I can then strafe and land. So, and I'm pretty much there. So when I'm flying, I'm going to fly to Albrook here. I'm looking at the mini map to line myself up. Now I'm like pretty much straight to Albrook, and then, well, that was a bad example because I was not straight to Albrook there. So let's do Tizen here. So I'm gonna use the mini map to straighten myself out to get to Zen, and as I'm coming close, then I can stop and reorient myself to get, you know, a better landing very quickly. So do it full speed with Tizen here, flying, lined up, and then strafe land. So I can overshoot it. I don't have to be precise. I don't need to slow down, and then I just immediately strafe into a better position to get pretty much close. You know, I'm not on the exact square, but it happens. Strafing is also very important because there are a few locations in the game that landing is deceptively hard. Where am I here? So, for instance, it is a little hard to land near the cave, near Serpent's Trench here. I believe this is the closest, even though you can walk closer. Like, you can't actually land in front of this cave. For some reason, the rightmost tiles you cannot land here, even though you can walk there. Another infamous one is Barren Falls, where not gonna be able to land, not gonna be able to land, not gonna be able to land, not gonna be able to land. This is about as close as you can get to Barren Falls, which is still a few spots away. So, you know, using strafe to kind of get you to the best location, it can be a very quick way of being more precise. Just no reason to overdo it. the next tip I have is with input buffering. As most people are aware, you can buffer a lot of different inputs in this game. And I'm not going to go into details for non-airship inputs, but you can hold A and left and right and Y and up and down at different parts of the game to buffer your inputs so they execute on the first frame possible. And the Airship is no exception. Almost everything can be buffered with the Airship. So let's say I want to go to World of Ruin here, right? When I hit A, as I'm hitting A, I'm holding the menu button. And what happened there is, let's do it again. So I am right now holding the menu button, holding it, and the first available frame, it sends the input, and now I'm in the Airship. So if I know I'm going to be going to World of Ruin, before I even get the Airship, I'm holding the menu button, and I'm holding left. Bam. So, by doing that, you're already right here in the console. You want to go to World of Ruin, so I'm holding the menu button, that's going, holding left, holding A. And so now you're hitting all those frames in the first possible. You don't need to stop for a quarter of a second to figure out where to go. You can do that with, with a lot of things. If, let's say I'm inside here and I know I want to land immediately, which happens a lot at the beginning of the game since you start right at Narsh. If you just hit B, you'll land at Narsh. If I do liftoff, I can just hold B right here and I'll instantly land. And I can also instantly hold the menu button, so as soon as I come out of the Airship, I can save, which is a very useful tactic if you're landing to go to a dungeon. You can land, hold menu, pop up, hold up, there, save, right? So you can quickly menu. It saves fractions of a second, but that all can really add up. And you can do that with anything. If you hold A as you're going up, you'll immediately shoot forward, which is what you want. If what I like to do is I like to hold, say, in this case, L and left, and you're immediately spinning around. So you can combine that together. If I'm holding L, left, and A, as soon as I can fly, I'm immediately turning myself around full speed, going to where I need to go. So you can buffer those inputs that kind of take advantage of the fact that almost everything with the Airship can be buffered. Going into menus, disembarking, accelerating, turning, you can buffer all those during the animations of the Airship going up and down, and the transitions of going in and out of the Airship, in and out of menus, things like that. The only thing that can't be buffered is you can't buffer A to get into the Airship. You have to actually hit A to do that. So you can use that to easily fly to where you want to go. I don't know why I landed here of all places. So to kind of recap, buffer your inputs, holding right, R, and A to immediately fly forward. I'm going to Zen. I've lined myself up on the world map. I'm not looking at the map. And last minute, I strafe, land. Here I am. So let's look at a few numbers with that. Let's use a practical example. I'm going to go from Narsh to Zen, and I am going to first time through. I'm not going to use L and R. I'm not going to buffer inputs, and I'm going to raise my altitude and kind of see how long it takes to go. So I'm going to start my timer as soon as I get in the Airship. I'm going to stop it as soon as I disembark. So let's start now. So up, churn, and fly, and we're going to Zen and land. And as soon as I come out, all right, 15 seconds to do all that, right? Now let's put everything we learned together, right? So we're going to input buffer, we're going to raise our altitude, we're going to look at the mini map, and we're going to strafe to kind of get where we need to go. The last one might not be as important because I actually kind of landed it pretty quickly the first time on the non-optimal example. But let's look at that. So again, we're going to start as soon as I get in the Airship. Buffering my input, turning around, lining myself up with Zen, go, 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 and land. And as soon as we stop, and bam. 11.66 seconds. So we have about, let's say, 4.25 seconds here, as an example. 4.25, and what I said about calculator, what I said before was I looked at one of my old VODs of an Ultras run, and I had 22 total Airship checks. So, putting everything we learned together, saved us about 4.25 seconds or so on a given airship. Times it by 22, and we have 93.5 seconds, which is a minute and a half savings of using no tricks that we learned and putting it all together and using all your tricks. So it might not seem like much, it's only a few seconds per airship, but you're on the airship a lot throughout the game, and you can easily shave a minute and a half off your time by practicing these airship tips and techniques and get them into your regular habits, and you'll find that your times will start going down. It's not gonna, it's not gonna be earth-shattering, but it will be a consistent time save because you're basically leaving that time on the table by if you don't adapt some of these habits. So that's about it. When it comes to the airship, there's kind of a lot to learn. It's definitely a few mechanics there, but none of it's hard, and I know you guys can do it. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and if you have any questions, feel free to join our Discord. You can find it at ff6wc.com. There's a nice link to the Discord. You can check us out, and if you have any further questions, hit up the community there, and we will try to go over them. So thank you.